Don't let your heart be troubled, my friend. Jesus says, you trust in God, trust also in me. So take a moment and assess right now how much trouble is going on in your world, scale of 1 to 10, and how much peace is there in my heart, scale of 1 to 10. What can I learn if there's a discrepancy? And then right next door to this invitation that Jesus makes to trust in him is a real important concept that I want to talk about today, and that's hope. Ultimately, we cannot find an untroubled life if we have no hope for a better future. So I want to ask you, what are you hoping for? And is it big enough? Is it really good? And is it true enough? Is it actually real? Is it going to happen? Fortunately, I've got a great hope that's an ironclad in the bag certainty. I am not making this up. This is a letter that came to my wife, Nancy, but she gave it to me, and I'll share a little bit of it with you. This is really good news. It's not good news for you, but it is for me. It starts, Dear Ortberg, I hope this message finds you in good health. My name is, and then it gives his name. He's based in Belgium, Brussels, Belgium. Specializes in managing portfolios. I'm writing to you regarding a sensitive matter. After carefully reviewing your country's public records, I discovered you share the same last name as my deceased client. Turns out to be a guy in Ortberg in Belgium who resided there over 30 years. Unfortunately, he passed, and his family also passed, sadly. I apologize for the unsolicited nature of this correspondence. But I'm writing to let you know, before his demise, my client possessed an insured fixed deposit worth 9,950,000 euros with a financial institution. That's like way more than $10 million. Given the circumstances, I kindly seek your authorization to enter into a partnership to retrieve this insured fixed deposit. Although you may not have a direct relationship with my deceased client, your shared surname may provide a basis for claiming the funds. How ironic this is. Nance married me. Her maiden name was Berg. She wasn't crazy about that. She didn't like the name Ortberg. She thought it sounded too much like Berg. She didn't want to hyphenate Ortberg Berg. And now, who knew that the name I was giving her would be worth more than $10 million? Upon the successful completion of the transfer, we will divide the total amount on a 50-50 basis, benefiting both of us equally. It is imperative we maintain discretion throughout this process to avoid any potential complications. So, don't tell anybody. I'm telling you, Become New, which I may rename Become Rich, but don't say anything to anybody. Now, fortunately, this is an ironclad certainty, but one of the great problems all of us has when it comes to hope is, what if I hope in the wrong thing? I don't want to feel gullible. I don't want to feel like a fool. And of course, this comes true, especially when we think about our ultimate hopes. So that's what I want to talk about. You don't let your heart be troubled. Where is your ultimate? I'm not talking today about a hope for this particular circumstance or that particular outcome, not even the stuff that we ache over, not somebody that I love or some deep pain or some horrible diagnosis. I mean the foundation underneath all of those. Does it make sense to hope in the universe in which we live? There's a very interesting article that was published quite recently in the New York Times by Pete Singer and one other author that talks about there's a lesson to be learned from the death of Daniel Kahneman. You might know Kahneman was this brilliant thinker and by all accounts a wonderful human being. He wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, worked with Amos Tversky for many years studying heuristics. How is it that people make decisions that we make? And was a scholar who exemplified integrity and compassion. Part of what they write about in this article is he died about a year ago, but it was not revealed at that time that he died because he wanted to die. He was 90 years old. And part of what he told the authors of this particular article is that he was ready to die, even though he was relatively healthy, because he believed that his life made no objective difference, that the universe was too large and complex for a single life to be relevant, that he felt good about his life, but that was just a feeling, kind of like I prefer vanilla over chocolate, and that there was no objective meaning, there was no objective purpose. Again, I say this not to criticize that life, because his life was an extraordinary and a wonderful one. But I understand that road. He talked about how he stopped believing in God when he was 15 years old. One day it occurred to him that it was possible for him to imagine God not caring for him. And from that point on, the notion of God ceased to be relevant. Now, you can read the article if you want to see what lessons were drawn from that. But what I want to offer today is an alternative perspective, an alternative to the notion that I just won't hope beyond this life, beyond the grave. That is an ancient posture, often taken by people who live quite remarkably good lives. The Stoics very often were people who said, no, you shouldn't hope, because if you hope, you're trusting in some force, some power beyond yourself. You want to become self-sufficient so that no matter what happens, you don't get disappointed. You're not pained. Jesus offers a fundamentally different posture for human existence. This is in John 14, verse 18. He says to his disciples, I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. Now, he would come again in numerous ways. He will come again at the end of all things, we're told, what's called the parousia. He came at Pentecost and the coming of the Spirit. He comes to us with visitations in any given moment, in any given day, maybe right now, to encourage you or to give you hope. But the foundation for all of that was the resurrection, and that's what he's talking about here. I will not leave you as orphans, as those who don't belong to anybody, who are abandoned and on your own. Whatever is going on for you right now, you might have been rejected by people. You might be facing the ultimate enemy in life. You are not an orphan, Jesus says. Before long, verse 19, the world will not see me anymore. He would be crucified, but you will see me. And of course, very shortly they did. And then this extraordinary word, because I live, you also will live. No one has ever said anything like that. Not just you will live, not just that death is not the end. Because I live, you also will live. This is very important, and a lot of folks don't understand this about the Christian faith. A great German scholar named Oscar Kuhlmann, quite a few years ago, wrote an article, and he pointed out the Bible, including the New Testament, does not teach the immortality of the soul. Lots and lots of folks think that it does, but actually Kuhlmann says it does not. The ancient Greeks, Plato, for example, believed that the body is kind of the tomb of the soul, so death is kind of a good thing, and it liberates the soul from the body so that the soul can go on with its immortal existence. And the death alongside of Jesus's that was the most famous in the ancient world was the death of Socrates. It was a very calm scene. He takes hemlock. He tells his students, his disciples, don't be troubled by this, because really death is our friend. Jesus does not say that the soul is made of some immortal stuff so that it cannot cease existing. He says our hope is the resurrection, and it happens to him first. And he says because it did, that's the foundation by which we know it will come for us also. Because I live, you too will live. And resurrection means that we can face the awfulness of death. When Jesus became fully human, death is the ultimate enemy, and he was horrified by it. And it's deeply connected with sin, and it is not our friend, and it needs to be defeated. And that's part of what he did, taking on all of the pain that you and I take. And then the life that lies on the other side of it is not just an infinitely more amount of the same, because who in God's name needs that? We don't need unbroken continuation of fallenness and pain and sin and betrayal and deception. We need for the world to be resurrected, for the world to be redeemed, for shalom to be transcendently triumphant over all things. And that's what the resurrection is about. So this is where we're to place our hope. Where will you put your hope? Luce Means wrote a wonderful book on hope called Standing on the Promises. Here's part of what he wrote. Without some hope, nobody among all the families of earth, through all epochs of time, has ever roused his will and set his mind to do something that needed doing. Has any mason ever put brick to mortar who did not have hope of finishing a wall? Has any writer ever put word to paper without hoping that more and better words would follow? Has any entrepreneur ever begun a project without hope of pushing it into production and success? Has any painter ever put brush to canvas who did not hope that he would create a small world of beauty on it? Has any addicted person ever broken his addiction without hope that he could do it? Have any two persons healed their wounded marriage without hope that the marriage was healable? And then I love this story. One early evening, as the dusk darkened the always shadowed Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo, weary, sore, doubtful, climbed down the ladder from his scaffolding, where he had been lying on his back since dawn, painting the chapel ceiling. After eating a lonely supper, he wrote a sonnet to his aching body. The last line of his sonnet astonished me when I first came upon it at an exhibition of the master's sketches, and the memory of it has comforted me in my times of self-doubt. Michelangelo wrote, I am no painter. I am no painter. But when the sun shone again, Michelangelo got up from his bed, climbed up on his scaffold, and labored another day on his magnificent vision of the Creator at work on his brand new world. What pushed him up the ladder? Could it have been anything but a hope, born again from a night's rest? A hope just strong enough to keep the doubts in check for another day. A hope that became the energy to paint the greatest picture of them all. Don't let your heart be troubled. Put your hope in God. And what that means ultimately is not try to conjure up some feeling of optimism. Just get back up on the ladder. Just climb up the ladder for another day. See, we cannot live without food. That doesn't prove food would exist, but it would be strange to live in a world where we hungered but there was no food. We can't live without oxygen. Doesn't prove that there is such a thing as air, but it'd be strange if we were born with this need into a universe that did not have oxygen. We cannot live without hope. Consciousness is such that it is impossible to live without a vision, without something pulling me into the next moment and then the next and then the next. Doesn't prove that hope and meaning exist. But it would be strange to be born with a hunger for something that has no existence. Put your hope in God. Put your hope not just in some vague notion of the afterlife or that there is something that is going on after death. That's not what he said. What he said is, in a little while you will see me, and because I live, you will live. Don't let your heart be troubled.
Hey, before you go, be sure to click that subscribe button below this video to make sure you don't miss any future episodes in this series, Untroubled Heart. You can also head over to our website, becomenew.com, and subscribe for the text or the email, which will send you additional resources, thoughts, and questions to go along with each episode. Become New is so much more than just a video to watch. It's really a community to be part of. And so I encourage you to chime in the comments and add your voice to the conversation. In fact, if you're not a part of our Facebook group, during this series, I'm posting a question via video for each episode in the series, and I would love to have you engage with me there. So you can head over there by clicking the link in the description to this video. You can also find the links to our Instagram and X account if you want to follow those throughout the week. If you have a prayer request, there is a team of us who meet to pray each weekday for viewers just like yourself. So don't carry that burden alone. We want you to send it to us so that we can come alongside you. You can text it to 855-888-0444 or email it to us at connect@becomenew.com. Remember, the most important thing about your life is the person you become. I'll be seeing you.